What's happening, Shredder Nation? Happy, what day is this? Tuesday. Happy Tuesday. I hope you're all having an amazing week. I hope you're crushing your New Year's shred so far. I hope that everything's going smooth. As you join me, as you jump in, do me a favor, drop into the comments below, say hello, let me know where it is you're coming in from, and also just share with me, how's it going so far? What are your thoughts? What are your initial experiences? What are you feeling? What are you not feeling? Is 2 days too soon? It's crazy, the stories that we hear. So I'm excited to hear all of that. Listen, we're 2 days in. We have, 2 days in. Tomorrow is our first cleanse day for some of us, those that are choosing to do it. Some of us are going through and we're doing 21 days. And I wanted to touch real quick tonight on overwhelm. How many of you out there deal with overwhelm, where you start something new, something comes into your life, and all of a sudden the pressure builds, it gets too much, it feels like it's too much, and boom, it snaps you out of where you're going. Boom, it snaps you out from whatever that vision is that you had, the goal that you had. Like, seriously, how many of you do that? It's happened to me so many times, and I could never quite figure it out. Like, no matter what I did, like I taught you how to set goals the other day. Like, I would set goals, I would be specific, I would get whatever, but things in life, whether it was work related, whether it was relationship related, whether it was training related, something made me feel overwhelmed. And the good news is I have paid really high-end coaches in self-development. I have done course after course, study after study, and I just like I get obsessed. I don't know about any of you, but I get obsessed when I latch onto something and it's something that I really want to dig my teeth into, like a big fat juicy ribeye melted with butter melted on top, just like that. I just go all out. So, I mean, this is stuff that I've studied forever. I am still a student. I am continuously a work in progress. Susan, our amazing holistic nurse, Susan, she did a live earlier. She talked about, like, that's it. Like, that's enough. Like, I'm done beating the shit out of myself. And, that's kind of like, that's the process, right? So I want to share that with you tonight. And I hope that it brings a sense of relief, because the good news is you're not alone. There's plenty of people that have this happen, plenty of people that suffer with it, plenty of people that unfortunately don't even ever make it to the end of life, ever truly figuring out, like, how do I fix this? How do I overcome this? And I'm really hoping that the information that was taught to me through my high performance coach can now be regurgitated to you through me, so you can get the same experience in life. And you might think, like, well, Jesse, this is a nutrition program. If you're brand new to us, that, my friend, is where you are extremely wrong. Yes, this is the tracks to run on. Yes, this will help with nutritional aspects of life. This will help with dietary, choices and dealing with certain things. But if you stick around long enough, ask anybody who's been here, anybody who's on this call who's been around for long enough, what really is the magic sauce of the ER shred? The magic sauce, my friends, is the empowerment. It's the self-education, the self-learning about yourself. Like, how many of us have never learned about ourselves? Okay. All right. Anyways, let's get into this. How do we deal with overwhelm? Okay. I'm going to be looking at some notes, so don't mind me if I look off to the side, but it's really important that I get this right for you guys, right? How do we deal with overwhelm and inaction? So we know we want to get somewhere. We know we have goals. We know we have dreams. Okay, great. But how do we get through what seems like the endless piles of shit that stand in our way? Like, it just gets deeper and deeper and deeper, and it builds stress. So overwhelm is basically stress, okay? And what we have to realize is that a lot of times those things actually become an excuse for us. Ouch. I know. When I first heard this, I was like, what? You some bitch. And then as I studied more, I let go of my ego. I started to practice the things that were taught to me. And I was like, I always had this thing. I'm like, well, I'm going to prove it wrong. And it's funny, like that's actually what I thought of isogenics when I started 8 years ago. I was like, okay, I didn't believe this. I'll try it and set an alarm on my phone 30. Like I'm going to prove it wrong. A lot of times, when we do something, we're going to learn real quick that maybe we were wrong. So if you have that feeling like I did, and you're like, how dare you say that to me that I'm making an excuse? Now's the time to be honest with yourself. If true change is truly what you're looking for, and that's what I see, that's what I was looking for. Well, let me just be honest with you, my friend. I freaking lied to myself for so many years. I lied to myself for so many years. Are you doing that? And if you are, understand it's okay. This isn't the time to beat the shit out of yourself. It's just the time to say, I acknowledge this. I don't want to be that person anymore. I want to model this. I want to be this in the future, and you work towards that. So don't let this be a self-pity, beat myself up, but we got to acknowledge it. So a lot of the times there are excuses. I want to fill in the blank, but I feel overwhelmed. That's what we use it for, right? A lot of times it's an excuse. Overwhelmed is, when you look at the really what overwhelmed is a point in life where so much is going on that we just feel paralyzed, right? Like that could be a true sense of overwhelm. If you have, I don't know, a death in the family, and then something else happens, and then something on top of that, it could feel very overwhelming, right? But I'm talking about the times that it's just like, you have it going. It's like, I know I need to go to the gym. I know I need to do that. I know I need to move my ass because it's definitely good for me. There's so much stuff in that. But, I just feel so overwhelmed that I can't go. Like, I don't know about that. Like, I don't know if I wasn't buying that as my excuse anymore. So again, once I realized that, it helped create a lot of change. Okay. So, realize that true sense of overwhelm really isn't the case most of the time. Like if we're just being real and honest and transparent. Hello, everybody that's saying hello. How are you? Happy Tuesday. Hope this is serving you. Okay. So most of the time we just feel stuck, right? Like most of the time, we just feel like we're in a pit. We feel like we're in an endless pit, and we're just clawing our way out of that endless pit, right? Do you feel like that? I know I did. I don't know. Maybe you do. Maybe you don't. I don't know. Maybe I'm the only one. Anyways, here's the coolest news. I paid a lot of money, and I learned that there's ways out of this. But here's the deal. You have to be willing to do the work. You have to be willing to show up. And this is a really quick acronym. This is a really quick thing to teach you, and then we're done. Okay. So you got to learn, if you feel like you're in a pit, we can use pit to actually get out of overwhelm, to get ourselves out of the way. And it breaks down like this. The P is you got to have a plan, right? Overwhelm happens when we don't have a plan. Just like we talked about goals, if you don't have a set thing that you want to do, the brain can't focus on a direction. That's rooted in the science. That's rooted in the psychology. So if we know that, why fight it? Okay. So we know that if we don't have a plan, and this comes from research of the highest performers, thousands and thousands of high performers. So it's like, take this and really apply it to your life and see what can happen. Start to flip the script. And instead of saying, well, what if it doesn't work? And what if I fail? Just say, well, what if it does? What if it does? Then what? Then what does life look at, right? So you've got to have a plan. Overwhelm happens when we don't have a plan. Don't overthink it. Just get one plan. So if your plan is to get healthy, you're going to tap into this community every single day. You're going to set a time. You're going to learn. You're going to get motivated. You're going to, whatever it is that you're doing, right? Maybe it's another podcast that you listen to, a nutrition podcast or a fitness podcast. Okay. Just like with anything else that you're doing, You know, if you're starting a business, if you're doing whatever, like where are you going to go? What podcast are you going to get? What book are you going to get? Like, how are you going to get a plan so you can take the stress of not knowing and not allow it to create the sense of overwhelm? That's the whole goal, right? Like that's the reason why having a plan is so important. Does that make sense? If that makes sense, let me know. If not, maybe I'm just crazy. I don't know. So the question is, do you know your plan for tomorrow, right? Like some of you have cleanses coming up. Some of you are just going to keep going. Like, do you know your plan for tomorrow? What 3 things or 4 things must you execute by the end of the day tomorrow? Sometimes we make it too complicated. Sometimes we're like, oh my God, in 6 months from, no, not 6 months from now. That's a bigger goal. That's a dream in the future. What are you going to do? And if we have a plan and we know what we're going to do tomorrow, like for instance, like I do things, I hack my days. I pack my lunch the night before because I know the morning's going to be busy with workouts, with getting ready, with taking care of the little guy, with making sure that Crystal and I both, you know, can get out the door on time. Like I know that. So I'm setting myself up, right? I know my plan. I know that I'm going to wake up at 4 o'clock. I know that from 4 o'clock to this time, I'm going to do this. I know from this time to this time, I'm going to do this. Like my morning is mapped out all the way through till 8:30, 8:45 when I walk out the door to go do a job, right? And it takes away the pressure and the stress. But if I didn't have that plan in place, you can see where it's like, okay, I'm going to wake up and I'm like, oh shit, what do I do? I watch people do this in the gym all the time. You go into the gym and you don't have a plan, you're just basically wasting your time. Like how many people you see them walking around, they're like, what am I going to do next? Like you got to have a plan. Like it's so freaking important. That's the P. The I in PIT is identity. The I in PIT is identity. Lacking vision of what you want, right? You're lacking vision of what you want. Your esteem doesn't quite match the effort that it's actually going to take. This is also identity of how you view yourself, how you feel about a certain thing, how you feel about yourself, what you sense about it. What's your identity around that? So if your identity is to have a health transformation, what are you sensing about it? How are you talking to yourself about it? What things are you doing? What is your identity around it? So got to have a plan. You got to have a positive identity around it. So you just, if you're lacking the identity, you just haven't put yourself out there enough. You haven't taken the risk. Like we can be honest with each other, right? Like my job is to coach you. Like I want to push you. I want to get you there. Like I don't just want to sit here and just rah. Like you got to be real. Like you're not pushing yourself enough, right? Oh, I just suck it up. Suck it up. Sometimes you got to suck it up. Like you're a human. You're created. My God, if you understood the inner workings of the human body and the studies and you are fascinating. You are a machine. You can do so much more than you even dream of being able to think about. But you're not pushing enough. Okay. Esteem is you're stuck in old stories. You're stuck in your high school self. You're still telling yourself stories. Yeah, but when I was this, I did this. Like, I get it. I respect that. We all grow. We all have times in life, but it's like, isn't it time to like not live there? I don't know. Maybe. Right? Like it's your old self. It's self-doubt. It's things like that. Like having the feeling of I don't feel like I can is also a problem in identity. And this is rooted in a lot of self-talk. You know, we've had some posts in the group. Like, what about the post, the content this week? Oh my God. Like the stuff that you guys get in this community is just bonkos to me. And it's literally like, you're literally only you have to, the price of admission is you pay for your own food. The side effect is you get healther than you ever freaking been your entire life. The bonus is you get like stuff that like I dove after for years, right? And other people are sharing. It's just like, it blows my mind. It's bonkos. Anyways, back on track. So you have that feeling, okay? So you got the plan. We understand the identity. And the last thing is this. It's the T. It's time management. time management. Oftentimes we have a plan, but time management is so freaking off. This one really hurt me. Like, if I'm going to be like, this one really stung when I became strong enough to admit the fact that I had these big dreams and had these big aspirations and had these big things that I was wanting in life, and I was wasting so much time. And it's hard to realize that because we get in such a routine, and as humans, it's built into us to have that routine. It's natural. So when you get there, you think you're doing everything, but when you really get somebody like a high performance coach and they're being raw and real, and their job is to move the needle with you as a team, and you got to be accountable. That's the whole purpose of having a coach. That's why I love being people's coach, because it's that piece. Like, it's the bridge that actually gets you from where you are to where you want to be. It's the coolest freaking thing when you get it. And we just got to be real with ourselves. I mean, if we take the average, right? This blew my mind, these stats. When we take the average person who watches 4 hours of TV, that's the average person every single day. And then, like, those same people will be like, well, I don't have time to talk to people, or I don't have time to go to the gym, or I don't have time to prep my food, or I don't have time to look at the guides. That's my favorite. I don't have time to get on anything or visit. Okay. Like, what's more important, your dream or the Netflix series? Ouch. Dang, I know. Now, listen, I'm not saying that you can't sit and enjoy and do it, but in my world now, I've learned it's planned. So when it's planned, there's zero guilt. When it's planned, it's in the calendar and it's set for that. It's really, really important. Okay. You add social media to that, and you're looking at basically losing an entire work week. So statistics show that the average person, if we take 30 minutes, let's just say 30 minutes, okay? And the average person actually spends at least 60, but if we take 30 minutes, and I'm not talking about like educational stuff or things that are helping us learn or things that we're using to create our plan. I'm talking like getting lost in the scroll hole. I'm talking like, come on, you've been there. The engineer, the most highest paid engineers in the world are doing AI, and the AI is working on you, and it's getting you. I'm like, click. Like, what? Right? 30 minutes goes by like that. So the average person is 60 and probably more. But if you take 30 minutes a day times 7 days, that's 210 minutes. If you do the math and multiply that out and how many minutes that is a year, it's 10,080 minutes a year, or 168 hours at only 30 minutes a day. At only 30 minutes a day. I mean, that when I like let that sink in, I was like, holy shit. Like, shame on me. And the scary thing is time is the most precious commodity we have. Time is the most precious commodity we have. You'll never get it back. So it's like, okay, like now you start to realize, and you're like, well, how do I really want to show up? Like, is it time to stop playing games? Is it time to actually get shit done? I don't know. That's your choice, right? So, managing time is literally one of the most important and biggest things that we could learn to manage in our lives. And I never appreciated that until it was pointed out to me. And then I started to go, and listen, I'm not perfect at this. I don't want to sit here and pretend like I'm freaking perfect at this, because I'm not in any way, shape, or form. But I am constantly trying. I am constantly wanting to get better. And isn't that really what it's all about? Like, it's not about perfection. It's not about doing everything in what you think it's supposed to look like because social media is predicting life to be this certain way. Like, bullshit. It doesn't work like that. Like, I'm going to be real with you. Like, life's a hot mess, right? But that's why it's important to practice things like this. That's why it's important to practice self-development. Yes, in your nutrition journey, because if you don't crack these pieces, then all of that's there. That's the energy. That's the fuel. Why do you want that? Well, you want that to fuel better things in life. It goes hand in hand. It's the catalyst to everything, right? But this piece is so important. I don't think it's talked about enough. So I hope it's bringing some value. When you think about it, can you find 2 hours a day? Is there any place in your life? And when I asked myself that question, I was like, yup. I used to play not Call of Duty, but maybe it's Call of Duty. I don't know. It was on my phone. Most addictive game ever. And it was only one a day, but that one game was 17 minutes. And I was like, boom, there's 17 minutes right there. And then I was like, okay, what else could I do? Well, this is an unpopular suggestion. You could wake your ass up early. Okay, I get up at 4 o'clock. Right? I've been doing that for a long time. That's like the greatest hack of time ever because it's quiet time. It's thinking time. Like I get more done in 2 hours in the morning than any other time. Okay. So can you find 2 hours a day to create less overwhelm, to put that towards your dream, your goal? Like they are important. I talked about that in the last call. Don't take them for granted and don't you dare let anybody else diminish them because they're freaking important. They're important. And here's the thing. If you're like, well, Jesse, I'm good at this stuff. Great. How can you get better? How can you manage it better? How can you get to the next level? Is there something that's taking up your time, that's not driving your life in the direction that you want it to? You can't use things like, I don't have time to work out. I don't have time to no, like there is time. And I look, I have a little toddler. Like you can't call the kid, I get it. And some days I don't. I also want to be honest about that. Some days it feels like I'm like, holy shit, where'd the day just go? That's okay too. But is the average of what you're doing? That's what we're going for. That's the long game. You want to succeed? Play the long game. The hell with the short game. I chased the short game for years. You know what that got me? Wasted years. My friends, overwhelm, in a true sense, is something that we need to deal with. But if we're really real with ourselves, 97.5% of it is just in our head, and we can solve it with PIT. I hope this brought you value. Please do share with me what your takeaways are. Smash the share button, tag your teammates, keep kicking ass, keep rocking it. Let us know what you think about all the content coming in. Make sure you're involved. Make sure you're showing up. That is the most important step. That is the most important step because you can't get anything if you don't show up. Hope you all have an amazing night. We'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.